There was once a group of people called the Philistines. Now, the Philistines were really horrible. They were big, hairy bullies who just liked picking on other people. When they saw something they liked, they'd say, "I like that, let's nick it." They weren't very nice at all. Would you like to meet some of the Philistines? Be prepared. Here they come now.
I'm not mad, I'm just bad. I like to make people really sad.
I'm not cute, I'm just a brute. I like making people really puke.
Na na na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey! Na na na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey! Hello. We is the Philistines.
Yeah, the Philistines. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
We like spoiling things.
Yeah, we like ruining and destroying.
I like scribbling on nice white pieces of paper.
I like dribbling down nice white t-shirts.
But best of all,
Yeah, best of all,
we like spoiling God's plans and hurting his people. Yeah, who wants to be good when you can be bad?
Yeah, and who wants to be bad when you can be really bad?
Yeah, and who wants to be really bad when you can be evil?
Yeah, and who wants to be evil when you can be even worse?
It's not all bad being a Philistine.
Yes, it sometimes has its moments of mindless savagery.
What is it you like best about being a Philistine, Bert?
I like fighting the Israelites, stealing their stuff and pinching their girlfriends.
All right, yeah. I have to say that although pinching the girls is fun, I enjoy biting best. But it's still the bullying that's the most fun.
Yeah, and today we're going to have lots of fun bullying God's people. 'Cause we have a secret weapon what will really scare them all. And if they is scared, then we will win the fight. And today we can't lose.
Great. Well, let's go and fill in some time with some mindless violence.
Okay.
I'm not mad, I'm just bad. I like to make people really sad.
I'm not cute, I'm just a brute. I like making people really puke.
Na na na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey. Na na na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Hey.
So that's the Philistines. Not very nice, are they? Now, along with the Philistines, there was another group of people called the Israelites. The Philistines were mean bullies who never listened to God. But the Israelites were peaceful people. They loved God, they always listened to him, and they always did what God said. Now, one day, the Philistines looked over at the country of Israel, which was very beautiful. And they said to themselves, "I like that, let's nick it." So they got together with their swords and their spears and they marched on Israel. The Israelites saw them coming and quickly grabbed spades and pitchforks. They weren't really very good at fighting and they ran quickly to defend their country. The Philistines ended up on the top of one hill and the Israelites ended up across the valley looking at them at the top of another hill. The only thing is that when you're fighting, it's best to stay on top of the hill, because if either army came down into the valley, well, that would be disaster, because their enemy would be above them. That's when the Philistines came up with a dastardly plan. Every day, the Philistines and the Israelites looked at each other across the valley. And then the Philistines said, "Let's have a meeting." And they came and talked to the Israelites, their commanders, and the Israelite commanders. And what the Philistines said, "Listen, there's no point in us all having a big battle and lots of people dying. Tell you what, you pick your champion, Israel, and we'll pick our champion, and our champions can fight each other, and both armies on the hill will watch. And whichever champion wins the whole battle. So if your champion wins, well, you'll have all of our stuff, and, you'll win. And if our champion wins, well, we'll get all of your stuff, and we'll win." Now that sounded fair. It sounded like such a good idea, didn't it? Only one person would die, and that would settle the whole matter. But the thing is, the Philistines had a secret weapon. Meet Goliath. Goliath was a huge warrior. He was 7 foot tall, and he was the Philistine champion. He had muscles on muscles. He ate 25 Weetabix for breakfast and still had room for a dessert. He was huge. He was a bully. He was terrifying. And every day he'd come down the hill from the Philistine army and he'd strut about in the valley and he'd point up at the Israelites and say, "Who will fight me?" And the Israelites, they forgot that they loved God and that he protected them. They forgot everything. They were just scared. They trembled and they shook and they looked at Goliath and said to each other, "No one will ever fight him, and anyone who does is a goner, and then we're bound to lose." They, the Israelites, were absolutely terrified. And Goliath would strut around and point and say, scaredy cats, your pants are on fire." And all the Philistines would laugh and point. And the Israelites would just tremble with fear. Meanwhile, a long way away, behind the hills in Bethlehem, there lived a boy called David.
Miles away from the battle in the hill country near Bethlehem, there lived a boy called David. David had 7 older brothers, so he was the youngest son, and it was his job to look after the sheep. While he did this, he learned a lot about God. He learned that after each sunset, God always sent another new day. He saw liquid rainstorms, the change of seasons, and he learned that God made all things. He prayed and talked to God, and he learned that God was his best friend. Sometimes at night, wolves would try to attack his sheep, and it was David's job to protect them. With just his simple slingshot and some small stones, he would defend his sheep from attack. In this way, David learnt to be brave and to trust God.
Now, David's older brothers had all gone to the front line to fight the Philistines. They'd left their home quickly to go and defend their country. One day, David's father came to him and said, I want you to go and take some food up to the front line where your brothers are fighting the Philistines. Give it to them and then come back and tell me how everything's going. So David left and went to where the Philistines and the Israelites were waiting, each on top of a hill. When David got there, who should be in the valley between the two armies but Goliath? And Goliath was enjoying himself. He was pointing up at the Israelite army going, scaredy cat, your pants are on fire. He was shouting, who will fight me? And all the Israelites were trembling with fear. They were terrified. David looked round. He looked at Goliath and he looked at the Israelites and said, what's happening? This man is only a man. He's a big man. He's a bully. But he's only a man. And we have God on our side. These Philistines don't even listen to God. If nobody else will fight him, I'll fight him. I know I'm only a little boy and I couldn't beat him on my own, but I've got God on my side. Everybody was impressed with David and they said to each other, well, at least it'll all be over, even if he loses. They offered David some armour, but the armour was too big for him because it was made for a man. David said, I can't work with that. I'll just take my little catapult, my slingshot, and a few stones. But I'll also take in my heart my faith in God, and that will defeat that bully. And that's how David went out to fight Goliath, just with his little slingshot and stones, just with what he used to fend off wild animals when he was looking after his father's sheep. Out he went and he prayed, please God, help me defeat this evil bully.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome. This is Flushpool Gobsplanger bringing you this year's Clash of the Champions. On my left we have Goliath, who is, big. Yes, he's very big, folks. This is the man who eats 25 Weetabix for breakfast and still has room for a dessert. Goliath weighs in at absolutely enormous. And let's face it, folks, he definitely gives you a crick in the neck just looking at him. And on my right is the Israelite champion. Yes, we have David, the shepherd boy, who is small. Wow, is he small? He's no more than a boy. And Goliath is laughing. He seems to be tickled by something. Yes, he's pointing and laughing. He's laughing at David. And David seems to be praying. Well, Sonny, you're going to need all the help you can get. And David, who incidentally is wearing no armour at all, is taking out a slingshot and a small stone, and he has fired it at Goliath. Wow, what a shot! David has hit Goliath. Let's watch that again in slow motion. Yes, a direct hit. David has landed Goliath a smack in the eye. Goliath is holding his head and he's shouting something. Oh my, what a temper. He's swearing at David. He's turning the air blue. Don't listen, children. Well, that goes for you too, adults. But wait, Goliath is staggering about. Oh yes, he's falling. He's down, ladies and gentlemen. He's down. He seems concussed. And David has got hold of Goliath's sword and has cut off Goliath's head. Ladies and gentlemen, Goliath is dead. Goliath is dead. Can you hear those Israelites cheering? They can certainly celebrate. David is the new champion. The little boy has defeated the mighty warrior with a slingshot and his trust in God. And the Philistines are all over the place. They're running for it. This has been a day to remember. This is Flashball Gobsplanger signing off from this year's Clash of the Champions.
So David defeated Goliath. He was only a little boy, but he stood up to a bully. I wonder if you've ever been frightened by somebody or by a situation. It's like it's bullying you and it makes you scared. Did you know that on your own you probably can't defeat it? But you're never on your own. That's the good news. That's the great news. God is always with you. So if you're scared, if you're being bullied, if your thoughts are bullying you, if your situation's bullying you, or if a person's bullying you, ask God to help, and He will. Let me finish with a prayer. Let's pray together. If you want to make this your prayer, you can. Dear God, I want to thank you that you're always there. And even though we're young or we're small, even though sometimes we're scared, you're still there helping us. Help us today to ask for your help so we can stand up to situations and people who bully us. Amen. See you again soon. Bye.